Hello class, we're about to start the final exam review. Now remember, the first two parts of the final exam review is your midterm part 1 and part 2. And I will provide you all with the links to those videos so you will be able to watch the videos to those two reviews. So those will be part 1 and part 2 of the final exam review. And then what I'm recording today is part 3. And then part 4 will be recorded tomorrow. So in order to get to your final exam review, of course, you know, you go to JetNet here and you go down until you get to the exam review and click on it. And then on the exam review, it has it here. So the first one that you would look at will be the midterm review part 1, then the midterm review part 2, and then the final exam review part 1, which I'm going over today, which will be the third video, and then finally final exam review part 2, and then you would definitely be ready for the final exam. So when you click on any of these, it will give you a download, and then we could get started here. Now, one thing I want to say is with all of the reviews, at the very end, it has the answer key. So that's with all of the reviews. So you could try it on your own and then see if you get the right answer. If you don't, you could always come back and ask me any questions on this on these reviews. So let's start here. On problem number 1, it says an investor bought 600 shares of a stock at $12.44 using a broker that charged a 2% commission. Find the amount of commission that was paid. Okay, so number 1, we had 600 shares and that was at $12.44. So we could put that in our calculator. So we have 600 times $12.44. So that would give us $7,464. Okay. Now that is how much we paid for the stock. But the commission is 2% of this. So we will multiply this by 0.02. And that will give us our commission. So we go back to our calculator and then multiply by 0.02. And it gives us a commission of $149.28. So that will be our answer for problem number 1. Problem number 2. It says the blank is the amount a borrower will pay interest on. It's the amount financed. Okay, number 3. It says for a $8,400 student loan, if you start school in August, graduate in May, 3 years and 9 months later, and payments begin 6 months after graduation, how much time will pass while interest is accruing? So again, you got 3 years and then 9 months. But remember, the payments don't start to 6 months later. So it's technically 3 years, 15 months before payments start. Now here's the thing here. Since we know 12 months equals to a year, we can subtract 12 months here and add 1 year here. So that will give us 4 years and 3 months. So that will be our answer for number 3. Now we move on to number 4. It says for a student loan, the daily interest amount is equal to, so it's the principal balance times, I should have given myself more room, but is times the interest rate. And then that is divided by 365.25 days. So it's the principal balance times the interest rate, all divided by 365.25 days. Okay, now, number 5, it says the Elk Restaurant took out a loan for $7,000. The simple interest rate was 6.5%, and the term of the loan was 3 years. Find the interest, future value, and monthly payment. All right, so they want us to find the interest. Now, it's simple interest. So for problem number 5, we know simple interest is principal is equal to interest. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So now, the principal here is $7,000. The rate is 6.5%, which is 0.065, and the time is 3 years. So we will put that in our calculator. So we will have 7,000 times 0.065 times 3. So that would give us $1,365. Now this would be the interest. Now they ask us for the future value. Now remember, our future value is A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. All right, so now we'll substitute. The principal is 7,000. The rate is 0.065. And the time is 3 years. So we could put this in our calculator. So we would have 7,000 times 1 plus 0.065 times 3. And our answer here would be 8,365. Now, just for clarification's sake, I just wanted us to actually do this formula as well. And I forgot that there was an easier way to do this. Since we already had the interest, we could have just added the principal to the interest, and that would have given us the future value. So the principal was 7,000, the interest was 1,365. Added together would give us the future value. Now, they ask us for the next thing here. They want us to give the monthly payment. Now remember, it's 3 years that this person is paying. So we know 3 years is the same as 36 months. So we would take the 8,365 divided by 36. So 8,365 divided by 36. And of course, we'll round that to 2 decimal places. So it'll be $232.36 per month. So that is the final answer. So that's the monthly amount. I'll just put an M here. So you have the interest, the future value, and the monthly amount. And that takes care of problem number 5. Problem number 6, for a student loan, monthly interest amount is equal to, it's the daily interest amount times the days in a month. Now number 7. It says the amount that an investor receives from the sale of a stock is called the blank and are equal to the amount of the sale minus the broker's commission. Now, I'm going to write number 7 here because of spacing. It'll be proceeds. That is the answer to number 7, proceeds. So this right here would be our number 8. It says find the amount of interest earned. Now they give us these values here, and we're supposed to put this into a formula. It says find the amount of interest earned. So we want to find the amount of interest earned. So the first thing we need to do is write down the compound interest formula, because as you see here, it said that interest is compounded. So the compound interest formula is A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT power. All right. So we go through and solve this. So we have our principal, which is $19.50. Our rate, which is 13.5%, which is 0.135, divided by N, and this is the number of times it's compounded. It's compounded, it says semi-annually, so that's twice a year. So this N will be 2 times the T, the time is 2. So this would be 1950 times 1 plus 0.135 over 2 to the 4th power. So now we will put this in our calculator. So we will have 1950 in parentheses 1 plus 0.135 divided by 2. And we will close our parentheses, and we would take that to the 4th power. So our final answer here would be $2,532.25. Now that would be our final answer for the future value. But here we just want to find out what the interest is. So what we would need to do is take this $2,532.25 and subtract the original principal, which is $19.50. So when we subtract this will end up being $582.25 left once we subtract it. And you could get that using your calculator as well. Okay, now, so we move on to page 2. So we go here to number 9. It says, consider the stock table below. What is the current price of the stock? Okay, if we look here, the current price is $87.29. So this would be 9A, $87.25. That would be the 29 cents. That would be the current price of the stock. It says, what are shareholders trying to sell it currently asking for? So we look here, we got the bid, we have the ask. The seller are asking for $87.09. And that is basically it for problem number 9. Now we move on to problem 10. It says a credit card statement showed these transactions during June. It says the credit card has an interest rate of 15% on the average daily balance. Find the average daily balance, the finance charge for the month, and the new balance on July 1st. Remember that June has 30 days. Now this is going to take a little while. So let's take a minute to go over this real quick. All right, so number 10. First of all, we need to set up a little table. So let me draw a little table here that will help us out. Hope I have enough space. So we have the date, the balance, number of days. I guess I didn't need, well, I guess this would be good. Balance, times number of days. All right. Now, this is the first part of our table. Now, if you want to take a look at this in your previous notes, if you go back to pages like 241, well, actually starting on, I think it was on page 240, all the way up to page 242. And it gives you how to go through this step by step as well, if you want to see it in your notes. So let's go and write down these dates. We have June 1st, June 6th, June 12th, June 21st. All right. So on June 1st, the balance was $351.89. Now they asked us the number of days that it stayed at this amount. Well, we know that from the 1st to the 5th, it stayed at this amount because on the 6th, it went to to a different amount. So that would be 5 days. So over here, we would take this balance of $351.89 and multiply it by 5. And then we can get that answer. Now we come here on the 6th. They said we made a purchase of $67.46. So if we made that purchase, oh, you know what? I was supposed to add that. Let me add that real quick. So that was a little mistake on my part. But we will add this. So it was $351.89 plus the $67.46. So that'll give us $419.35. So it should be $419.35. So it'll be $419.35. And how many days? It'll be from the 6th to the 11th. So you go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That'll be 6 days. So then we will have $419.35 times 6. And then we will get that value. Now we go to June 12th. We made a payment of $70. So we're going to have to subtract $70 from this $419. So it'll be $349.35. And how many days? We'll go from the 12th to the 20th, which would be 9 days. So then we will have $349.35 times 9. Then we come down here, we made another purchase of $141.87. So we will add that, put that in the calculator. So we will have $349.35 plus the $141.87. So that'll give us $491.22. And then how many days? Since June has 30 days, we'll go from 21 to 30, which would be 10 days. So we'll have $491.22 times 10. Now, when you add up all of these days together, it's supposed to equal 30, which it does. And then, so that lets us know we got the days correct. Now we have to go through and find all of the things they're asking for. But before we do that, we need to multiply all these values together. And I'm going to draw another little line here. And I'm going to put total so we can write out the total of the balance of the day, the balance times the number of days. So let me take this calculator and do some multiplication. So 351.89 times 5. That'll give us $1,759.45. Then we would do the $419.35 35 times 6, which would give us $2,516.10. Then we would do the 349.35 times 9, which would give us $3,144.15. And then 491.22 times 10 would be $4,912.20. Now we need to add all of these together. So 1759.45 plus 2516.10 plus 3144.15 plus $4,912.20. So that would give us a total of $12,331.90. Now that'll be the total for the month. Now let's get to what they're asking us to do. So they want us to first find the average daily balance. Okay, so I'm going to put ADB for the average daily balance. So we would take this $12,331.90 and divide it by 30 days. And we will put that in our calculator. So our average daily balance rounded to 2 decimal places will be $411 and about 6 cents. Okay, so that's our average daily balance. Now we want to see the finance charge for the month. So now we'll do finance charge. And we're told here that our finance charge is 15% on the average daily balance. So it's $411.06 times 0.15. So we'll put that in our calculator. So that would give us $61.66. That's the finance charge. Now they ask us for the new balance on July 1st. So I'll put NB for new balance. So we would take the last value, which was the $491.22, and add the finance charge, which is $61.66. So we'll put that in our calculator. And we would have the $491.22 plus the $61.66. So that would give us $552.88. And that will be our final answer for that problem. So now we completed problem number 10. Now we move on here to problem number 11. Now problem 11 states find the missing value. Now if you notice here, it's a simple interest problem and we're missing the principal. So simple interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So our interest here is $6,492.50. We don't know what the principal is. Our rate is 0.175, which is a 17.5%, and our time is 7 years. So now we have $6,492.50, and that's equal to, we would take our calculator and multiply 0.175 times 7, which will give us 1.05 times P. So we'll divide each side by 1.05. And our principal, we'll put that back in our calculator. So we will have 6,492.50 divided by 1.05. And that would give us $6,183 and about 33 cents. That would be our principal. Now, let me make sure. Okay. That seems very odd. I might have made, let me check something out because something doesn't seem right here. Oh, I see what happened. I made a mistake earlier. I put 0.15 instead of 0.175. So it should have been here, instead of 1.05, we should have divided each side by, well, let's go back here. Instead of this coming out 7 times 0.175, shouldn't have been 1.05. So what we would have to do back in this calculator, it should have actually been 1.225. So we would actually have 6,492.50 is equal to 1.225 times P. Then we'll divide each side by 1.225. And now we will put that in our calculator. So it should have been 5,300. So 5,300 should have equal to P. So your principal was $5,300. And that was a little error, but glad that we caught that. All right, now we come here. It says find the amount of interest earned. Okay, so now we come back to another compound interest formula. So remember, with compound interest, is A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N to the NT power. So we want to know how much interest it is, and they just say it's annually. So the principal is $2,500. The rate is 0.085, and the number of times is once. And then it'll be taken to N will be once, and then T will be 2. So now we will put this in our calculator. So we have 2,500. Then we have 1 plus 0.085. Close that parenthesis, and we would take this to the second power, because we know 2 times 1 is just 2. So that would be to the second power. So it'd be $2,943.06. Okay, that's how much was earned over the 2 years, but that includes the principal. We just want to find out what the interest is. So we would have to subtract off the principal, and that would give us $443.06. That would be the total interest. All right, 13. It says find the missing value, and then we have a simple interest problem here. I don't know why this paper has folded up, but let me see if I could get it to at least lay flat. All right, 13. Simple interest. We know interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So we do not have the interest. So the principal is $17,500. The rate is 0.115. And the time, it says 30 months. Now we know time is typically calculated in years. So we would take this 30 months and divide it by 12 and make it 30 divided by 12 to indicate years, because it's 12 months in a year. So now we could put this in our calculator. So we will have 17,500 times 0.115 times 30 divided by 12. So that would give us $5,031.25. All right, so that took care of problem number 13. Now we go here to problem 14. It says a house is purchased for $313,000 with a 15% down payment. A mortgage is secured at 7% for 25 years. Find the monthly payment. Now, we have a few things going on here that we have to look at. One, we have to look at the monthly payment formula, and we also have to deal with the fact of that there is a down payment. So, let's take a look first at the monthly payment formula, and I'm going to write it over here. So we have the monthly payment is principal times the rate over 12 divided by 1 minus 1 plus r over 12 to the negative nt power. All right, so with that being said, now we have to go through and figure out how to get the monthly payment. So it tells us that the house was purchased for $313,000 with a 15% down payment. So first of all, we have to find out what the 15% down payment would be. So we had 313,000 times 0.15. So we will put that in our calculator. Well, you know what? We don't need, because they just asked us to find a monthly payment. So what we could do, instead of multiplying this by 15%, let's do it by 85%. Because we know if we take out 15% from 100%, that would leave us 85%. So we could take this 313,000 and multiply it by the 15%. 85%, not 15%. And that would give us our new principal, which is $266,050. Because we don't need to know what the down payment is. They didn't ask us for that. Okay, now they tell us that our rate is 7% and it's at 25 years. So we're going to go through and substitute. The principal now is $266,050. The rate is 7%, which is 0.07 divided by 12, all over 1 minus 1 plus. The rate is 0.07 over 12 to the negative. Now it's compounded 12 times, but over 25 years. Now 12 times 25 actually would give us 300. So it's really like a negative 300. So we're going to put this in a calculator. So we will have the 266,050, and I'm going to do a division. Then I'm going to complete everything else times 0.07 divided by 12. Now that took care of the numerator. The denominator, we have 1 minus the parenthesis, 1 plus 0.07 divided by 12. Then we could close our parenthesis. Now we want to take this to the negative 300 power, but what we could do is this: we could put negative and we could put in parentheses what we had, the 12 times 25. And that would still give us what we need here. So our monthly payment would be $1,880.39. All right, so now we move down here to problem 15. It says calculate the amount of tax that our single person would pay on income of $99,286. So this is a single person, and it doesn't say any type of deductions or anything like that. So we will go, the 99,286 falls here at the 28th percentile. So for problem 15, the first thing we would do is the first $9,075 is at 10%. Now, the next, we would take the 36,900 minus the 9,075, and that would be at 15%. Now, the reason why we subtracted out the 9,075 is because 9,075 had already been taxed at 10%. So you need to subtract that out of this 36,900, or you would be paying twice the tax. Then plus, we would have the $89,350 minus the 36,900. Then that'll be at the 25%. Then plus. Now, we would take that salary because the 99,286 falls in between these values. So we'll take the 99,286 minus the 89,350 and multiply that by 0.28. Now again, if you notice here on each one of the tax brackets we go to, we end up using the highest from the previous tax bracket. Like at the 15%, we took the highest from the 10% and subtracted it. At the 25%, we took the highest from the 15% and subtracted it from the 25% value. And then finally, 28%, we did the same thing. Now, we have to put this in our calculator. So we would have the 9,075 times the 10% plus the 36,900 minus the 9,075. Then we know that'll be at the 15%. Then plus the 89,350 minus the 36,900 times 0.25 plus the parenthesis 99,286 minus 89,350, and that'd be 0.28. And the total tax would be $20,975.83. It's a lot of steps, but it's not bad, just a lot of steps. Okay, now we go here to 16. They give us the simple interest formula, and then they also give us the future value formula. So for 16, we have principal rate and time, because you will actually be writing it on the paper. So principal, rate, time. And then that'll be for the number one. Number two, it'll be the principal and also interest. Okay, now 17, it says find the interest on an investment of $75,000 that pays 9.1% compounded weekly for 8 years. Okay, so we need that compound interest formula, which is A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N to the NT. The principal is $75,000. The rate is 0.091. The number of times it compounds is weekly, so it's 52. So then it'd be 52, and then the years would be 8. Okay, so now we go here, and we could put this in our calculator. So we have 75,000, then parenthesis, 1 plus 0.091 divided by 52. Then we would take that to the 52, we could put that in parentheses, to 52 times 8 power. And then that would give us, for problem 17, I guess maybe I missed something here. It looks like I might have not typed in something. Let me see. 75,000. Okay. 1 plus 0.091. 52. Okay. So it'll be, so our future value would be $155,221.30. Now, the reason why I was having a little issue with this is because I am so used to finding the amount that you're supposed to have after a certain period of time, the future value, but they're asking here just for the interest. So I'm supposed to take this future value and subtract the principal off. So I have to subtract the 75,000. So that will leave us $80,221.30. So that will be the final answer for that problem. Okay, now, problem 18. It says, what was the closing price of the stock the day before yesterday? So basically what they're asking you to do is this. You will go to the close, which is the $51.80. And then what you're supposed to do is add the net change. So instead of it being a negative 139, it'll be $1.39, because remember, it's saying that it went down today. So that means that it was that price the previous day. So we would add the $1.39. So that'll give us $53.19. Now, if the net change would have been positive, then we would have had to subtract. Okay, now, 19. A small restaurant was purchased for $456,000 with no down payment and a 6% loan for 10 years. Find the monthly payment. Now, this is another monthly payment problem. Now, I'm not going to rewrite the monthly payment formula. We have it here. So all we have to do here is substitute. So with 19, the monthly payment is equal to, the principal is $456,000. And then the rate is 6%, 0.06. And the time is 10, well, it's supposed to be over 12. And then we have 1 minus 1 plus 0.06 over 12 to the negative. Now remember, it'll be 12 times 10, because that's how many years you have. Now we could put this in our calculator. Now I will tell you that this is why I like Desmos, because I could come back here to a previously done problem where it had the monthly value here and just do some substitution instead of having to retype everything over again. So it'd be 456,000 And then this would be 6%. Then down here, this would be 6%. And then we would have to do negative 12 times 10. And so our monthly payment will be $5,062.53. That will be the monthly payment. All right. So that was problem 19. Now we come here to problem 20. It says if a person filing has taxable income of $205,788, what tax bracket is she in? What about a married person filing jointly? Okay, since 20 is very short, I will squeeze 20 on this page here. They ask what tax bracket is this person at if they were single at $205,788. That'll be 33%. So it'd be 33% for single. Now they said married filing jointly. So I'm going to put MFJ for married filing jointly. So we'll go married filing jointly. 205,000 would be at the 28% tax bracket. So it'd be 28%. So this would be the answer for problem 20. All right. Now we move on down to problem 21. It says, consider the stock table below. Is this stock more or less volatile than the market as a whole? How do you know? Okay, listen. I'm just going to write that here. This is 21. Now, to tell the volatility of a stock, you look at its beta. Its beta here is 0.89811. So it's less volatile because beta is less than 1. Whenever it's less than 1, then it's less volatile than the rest of the market. So that lets us know that it's less volatile. Okay, 22. It says Raul's credit card statement showed these transactions during May. Okay, listen, I'm not going to do 22 because we've already did a problem similar to 22. If you want to see that problem again, it's the exact same type of problem, just a different month. So if you go back to problem number 10 covers this. Now, the only difference that you will find aside from the numbers from 22 to problem 10 is with problem 10, we dealt with a 30-day month. Problem 22 is 31 days. So when you find your average daily balance, you would divide by 31 instead of 30. So that is the only big difference between problem 10 and problem 22. So I'm going to say just see problem 10. Okay, 23. The blank is the interest charge for borrowing the amount financed. So it is the finance charge. The finance charge. Okay, 24. It says find the future value of an annuity if you invest $850 annually for 3.5 years at 18.5% compounded annually. Now, problem 24, we did not cover. So you don't have to worry about problem 24. So 24, you can X that out. Don't have to worry about that. Problem 25. It said, what was the lowest price that the stock sold for during the last 52 weeks? So what we would do is the lowest price, all we have to do is look at the low. And the lowest price would be $41.07. Now, for 26 is very similar, and we're going to skip over 26. 26 is very, very similar to problem number, what problem was that? With the future value. If you look back at problem number, well, you know what? No, they asked us for the future value. That problem asks us just for the interest. So let's go with this because we want to do the compound interest formula. So this is problem 26. So we have A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N to the NT. So we will have A is equal to, the principal in 26 is 900. The rate is 18.5%, which is 0.185. All over how many times it's compounded quarterly. So that means it's compounded 4 times a year. And then it'll be 4 times the number of years, which would be 4 times 2, which is 8. So now we put this in our calculator. So when we put in our calculator, we have 900, parenthesis, 1 plus 0.185 divided by 4. We'll close that parenthesis. Then we would take this to the power of 8. So that would give us a future value of $1,292.19. Okay. Now we go to problem 27. If the closing price of a stock is $34.31 and the annual earnings per share is 48 cents, find the price over earnings ratio. Now with the price over earnings ratio, formula is, so we'll do P over E is equal to the current market price divided by the annual earnings per share. So now we need the current market price. It tells us, which is $34.31 divided by the annual earnings per share, which is 48 cents. So the price over earnings ratio, we'll put in our calculator. So we had 34.31 divided by 0.48, which would be 71.48. Actually, we don't need the dollar sign. Be 71.48. All right. So now we go to 28. It says find the future value of the loan. Okay, so now that looks like a regular simple interest loan. So it'll be principal times 1 plus RT. So the principal is 14,400 times 1 plus 0.06, and then the time will be 5. So we will put this in our calculator. 14,400 times 1 plus 0.06 times 5. So this would be $18,720. That would be the new amount, or the future value. All right, problem 29. It says the Trissel family agreed on a price of $229,200 for a home. Their company credit union offers a 5.3% 20-year loan with 15% down, resulting in a monthly payment of $1,318.23. Find the down payment amount and the total amount they'll pay for the house. Okay, first of all, the down payment. So we would take the $229,200 and multiply by the 15%. As this time we're actually looking just for the down payment. So we would have 229,200 times 0.15, which would be $34,380. So that will be the down payment. Now, the next thing, and I'll just put equals the DP for the down payment. Okay, then they want us to find the total amount they'll pay for the house. Now, what you have to do to find the total amount, it's a 20-year loan. So we'll do 20 times 12. So 20 times 12. So there's 240 payments. So what we would do, and we could just say total amount paid, and I'll just abbreviate it. Total amount paid would be 240 times the monthly payment of $1,318.23 plus the down payment of $34,380. This is how you would get the total amount paid. So we'll put that in our calculator. So we add 240 times 1,318.23 plus the 34,380. So it'd be $350,755.20. All right. Go here to problem 30. If you purchase 2,318 shares of stock at the closing price and the broker's commission is 3.5%, find the total cost of the purchase. All right, for problem 30. So the closing price was $59.86. So we'll multiply that by the 2,318 shares. So 59.86 times 2318. So that'll give us $138,755.48. Okay, that's how much was paid for the stock. Now we're also told that the broker earns a commission of 3.5%. So we can multiply this by 0.035. Let's go back here to the calculator. And since we already had this amount, we could just do times 0.035. So the commission would be $4,856.44. So then what we would do, we would take the $4,856.44 and then add it to the $138,755.48 we got previously. So the total that would be paid would be $143,611.92. That's how much this person would pay totally for the stock. Okay, now 31, find the simple interest on a loan of $500 for 2 years at a rate of 5% per year. So we have interest is equal to principal times rate times time. The interest, they told us the principal is $500, the rate is 5%, and it's 2 years. So the interest here would actually be $50. Okay, 32. It says for the month of January, Christina has an unpaid balance of $539.50 from December. Purchases for the month were $275.46 and a payment of $350 was made during the month. If the interest on the unpaid balance is 2% per month, find the finance charge and the balance on February 1st. Okay. All right, so this is what we would need to do for problem 32. First of all, we would take unpaid balance of $539.50. And then they said they made a purchase of $275.46. And then they made a payment of $350. So we're going to add this $275.46, and then we're going to subtract $350. So let's take our calculator. So we have $539.50 plus $275.46 minus $350. So this would be $464.96. Now there's one other thing that we have to do here, because it tells us that, let's see, 2%, we pay 2% per month for unpaid balance. Now remember, this $539.50 was the unpaid balance for the previous month. So we'll take the $539.50 and multiply it by 2%. So $539.50 multiplied by 2%, which will give $10.79. And we're going to take that and add it to the $464.96. And that will be our new balance for the next month. So it'll be $475.75. And that will be your final answer. Now, I don't know, did they ask us? Let's see what they asked. Okay, they asked us to find the finance charge. So this will be the finance charge. And then this right here will be the new balance, or NB. So we had two separate answers for problem 32. All right, problem 33. It says, find the future value of a $40,000 investment with 9.2% interest compounded continuously 24 years after it started. So the compound continuously formula is principal times e to the RT. Now, and as A is equal to this. So the principal is 40,000. So we have 40,000 E, and then the rate is 0.092, and then the time would be 24. So now we would take our calculator and we will have 40,000. Then you could just hit the letter E and it'll automatically go into the E mode. And then we would take it to the power of 0.092 times, what's that, 24 years? And so the future value would be $363,900.13. Okay, now 34. An investor purchased 700 shares of a stock at $50.92 per share. She later sold it at $50.18. The broker's commission on the purchase was 3% and 1% on the sale. Find the amount of money the investor lost on the stock. Okay. So remember, first, they purchased 700 shares at $50.92. All right. So let's do that first. 700, $50.92. Okay. So this is how much they paid for the stock, $35,644. That's how much was paid for the stock. Okay, now, she later sold it at $50.18. So we'll take the 700 times $50.18. We'll put that in the calculator. So that's $35,126. That's how much it was sold for. Now, we have something else that we have to do here. It tells us that on the purchase, she had to pay a 3% commission, and then on the sale, it was a 1% on the sale. Okay, so with that 3% commission here, that means that's going to add on to how much we've already paid. So we can multiply this by 0.03. Let's take our calculator. And we can multiply that. We could go back up here and multiply it by 0.03. And that'll give us $1,069.32. And then here it tells us that when she sold the stock, she had to pay a 1% commission. Now look what happens here. This is, well, we'll still multiply by the 1%. Okay, so that would give us $351.26. So now, this is what we would need to do. Now we have how much commission was paid for both of these. We have how much was paid and how much you received back. So this is what we need to do to find out how much we truly lost. We're going to have to take the amount that you paid for the stock plus the commission. So that'd be $36,713.32 that you actually end up paying for the stock. Now, how much you received when you sold it, we will have to subtract this commission off because they're going to take the commission out of your sale. So this is how much you received back, was the $34,774.74. Now we need to subtract both of these. So we had $36,713.32 minus the $34,774.74. So you lost $1,938.58. That's how much of a loss this person took. And that's quite a bit of money. But let's go here to problem 35. It says Max borrows $14,500 for her last 2 years of college, acquiring a federal student loan at 7.2% interest. Find the amount of interest accrues if she acquires the loan in August, graduates 2 years later, and payments begin 3 months later. Okay, so this is what we would need to do. First of all, we need to find out those months, those 3 months that's added on here. Okay, so to find out those months, let's see. Okay, so if she acquired the loan in August and graduate 2 years later, that would take her to August. And then it says 3 months after August. So that would be September, October, November. So it's 30 days in September, 31 in October, and 30 in November. Now, what we need to do next is we need to find out a couple things. Yeah, we must find the daily interest amount. So this is what we would need to do. First thing we need to do is do the simple interest formula. So we have interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Okay, So what we would need to do, so we need to find out the annual interest here, which shouldn't be too bad, I should say. So the principal in this problem is $14,500. That's the first thing. The second thing that we would do here is multiply by the rate. The rate is 7.2%, so it'd be 0.072. And then we can also do the time. We'll just do 1 year. So in 1 year, let me pull up the calculator. In 1 year, our interest, 14,500 times 0.072 will give us 1,044. That's how much interest would accrue in a year. Now, to find our daily interest amount, we would do this value here, which is 1,044. And let me do DIA for daily interest amount. Be 1,044 divided by 365.25. So we could get that daily amount. So we'll do the 1,044 divided by 365.25. So that will give us $2.86 per day. Okay, so that is the average daily amount. So what we're supposed to do here is take these days and multiply by $2.86. All right. So now, and I didn't leave myself enough space here, but we'll get to that. Okay, so now, since we have the daily amount, and we know we want to find out, according to this here, we want to find out these 2 years. Graduates 2 years later. So we would do the 2 years. We'll take interest is equal to principal times rate times time, which we know is the 14,500 times the 0.072, and then we'll multiply it by 2. So that'll give us $2,088. So that's how much interest that would accrue on the loan. That's the 4 years. But remember, we have 3 months. 3 months later, we pay. So we got the 2 years plus the 3 months. This is where these values come into play. So we will have our 2,088 plus the 30 days times 2.86 plus the 31 times 2.86 plus the 30 times 2.86. And when you add all of this together, add and multiply all this together, it will give you how much interest has accrued. So we have 2,088 plus 30 times 2.86 plus 31 times 2.86 plus 30 times 2.86. So wait a minute, I must have typed in something that, oh, okay, I see it now. Okay, so the interest would be $2,348.26. So that would be the total interest that would accrue on this loan. All right, so now we are done with the review. This will be the third review. Now remember, in the email that I'm sending you, I'm going to send you the links to the first 2 reviews, which is midterm part 1, midterm part 2. And you know, in midterm part 1 review, we had a little bit of 2-7, so you have to skip a little bit ahead to get to the actual review. And that's in part 1 of the midterm. And then you will have part 2, and then this here, this will be the final exam review part 1, because remember, your final exam review is the midterm part 1 and part 2 and the final exam parts 1 and part 2. So it'll be all 4. And I will record the second part of the final exam review tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.